This is an in-depth guide on quick starting waves in Barbarian Assault. It assumes basic knowledge of Barbarian Assault and is likely to benefit most main attackers. Some knowledge of forcing wave ends is helpful, but not required. I'll first talk about quick starting in general and list the different types, then give detailed explanations of each method along with some examples, and finish up with a final summary. You can skip ahead to the summary section if you don't want the details. On the surface, quick starting seems straightforward. However, there are a lot of game mechanics that come into play that can vary your results greatly. This guide aims to break down different methods for quick starting to help make rounds as fast as possible for your skill level and desired level of effort. So what is quick starting and why is it important? Quick starting, or QS for short, is when the team scroller starts the next wave of Barbarian Assault before the default timer of 60 seconds. This is, unsurprisingly, done by clicking the Quick Start option on the lobby ladder between waves. Quick starting is important for casual players because it can mean getting a faster torso or more gambles per hour, and it's important for speedrunners because the lobby time is included in the total round time. There are a few different ways to perform or speed up quick start, which I'll try to break up into two main categories first, then go into more detail and variations of each after. The basic idea is that you load into the lobby, wait for the point screen to show up, then click quick start on the next tick. The first type of quick start is instant, or insta for short, which is either 4 or 5 ticks when performed properly, with a special case that is slower than this. 4 ticks is the fastest achievable quick start without breaking the minigame interface. Instas happen when your character interacts with the ladder the tick after standing still, which is basically when you click quick start while standing still next to the ladder. Instas are generally the gold standard of quick starting and should be attempted in most scenarios. One drawback of insta quick starting is that it causes the calls to show up one tick later in the wave for everyone, which looks like this. This can make some strategies almost impossible. I won't get into specific cases of when you wouldn't want to insta, but it's a good idea to check with your team before the round if you're unsure. Insta methods are lazy, which is spawning next to the ladder by chance, destination quick start with automatic pre-move next to the ladder, no destination quick start with manual pre-move next to the ladder, which can be done using the minimap or by clicking on the ground, flowering, Trou quick start, and a special case, which is accidentally standing still next to the ladder before clicking it, which can happen if you perform an action like drinking a potion or equipping gear on the way to the ladder and don't click it again fast enough. The second type of quick start is non-instant, which is always at least 6 ticks. Non-instas happen when your character interacts with the ladder the tick after moving, which is generally when you click quick start from anywhere not next to the ladder or during the last tick of movement to the ladder. For cases when you don't want to insta, or for players who want a slightly lower effort quick start method, I'll go over ways to help keep non-instas as close to 6 ticks as possible. Non-insta methods are as follows, and you'll notice that there's some overlap between insta and non-insta methods, which can vary due to random spawn locations. There's lazy, which is not spawning next to the ladder, destination quick start with automatic pre-move not next to the ladder, no destination quick start with manual pre-move not next to the ladder, which can be done using the minimap or by clicking on the ground, bad flower, bad Trou, and the special case of burning, which is intentionally avoiding insta. Note that some of these general methods can be combined with other methods, so I tried to list them in a way that makes the most sense in practice. This means that I may be repeating myself throughout the rest of the video while explaining each method. Alright, so with the background out of the way, I'll go over how to perform each method along with any comments I have on each one. Lazy quick start. For this method, you simply do nothing. Be standing still at the end of the wave and do nothing when you load into the lobby until after the point screen. The advantage is that it's very easy. The disadvantage is that it's slower on average than other methods. Here's a quick example. This method will give you an evenly distributed chance to spawn on any of the 61 tiles in the lobby, so it has less than a 7% chance of being a natural insta. This picture indicates where you can spawn on the two different lobby layouts. The ones represent the chance out of 61 of spawning on each given tile. For reference, the lobbies to the west of the lobby area have tables on the west side. This includes lobbies of waves 2, 5, 6, 9, and 10. Lobbies to the east of the lobby area have tables on the east side, This includes waves 3, 4, 7, and 8. This will come into play in some of the later quick start methods. Destination quick start with automatic pre-move. This method sounds complicated, but it's actually the second simplest to perform in most situations. If you have a destination within the wave as it ends, you will continue pathing toward your destination when you load into the lobby until the point screen appears. Due to the location of the wave instances relative to the lobby area, this means that you'll get an invisible tick of southeast movement as you load into the lobby, plus an additional tick of visible movement after loading and before the point screen. Here are two examples, one moving southeast in the wave and one moving northwest in the wave. The direction you move within the wave does not matter. The invisible movement will always occur. It will be 2 tiles if run is on, or 1 tile if run is not on. The visible movement can be interfered with, which I'll talk about more later on. This method can be performed in any situation where the wave doesn't end on an animation. This means that you can do it by moving to your destination with or without a prayer up to force, or you can set a destination on the last tick of the wave by clicking to move the tick before the last mob dies, with or without a prayer up. In the case where you're already moving in the wave, it's important to note that if you reach your destination before the wave ends, this reverts back to lazy quick start, and you won't get a destination movement or an automatic pre-movement before the point screen. So be sure to click somewhere far enough away that you don't reach it, or click precisely the tick before the wave ends to have a destination set properly. If the wave ends immediately at the end of an animation stall, like a shrink that you weren't moving prior to, or any cape emote, then you won't be able to set a destination before the wave ends, and it will revert to lazy quick start. Here's an example. Since you continue moving to your destination while loading into the lobby, you effectively gain a free tick of southeast movement compared to lazy quick start. Remember the picture of all the ones I showed in the last section? Well, this is the distribution of destination quick start locations after the invisible tick of movement, but before the visible tick of movement. These numbers are still the chance out of 61 of being on that tile after loading into the wave. Notice how they are all sort of skewed southeast, with some exceptions for tiles around the ladder and table. If you don't interfere with the tick of visible movement, the tiles that you can possibly end up on before the point screen are once again shifted southeast even more. This means that it's almost guaranteed to have a maximum of 6 tick quick start with this method, with the exception being loading in on the tiles north and northwest of the table on east lobby waves. I know that this was a lot on this method, so in short, you should be moving any direction at the end of a wave whenever possible to greatly increase your chances of a faster quick start. No destination quick start with manual pre-move. What about those cases when you can't set a destination before the wave ends? That's where this method comes into play. If you aren't moving toward a destination at the end of the wave, you won't get the invisible movement in the lobby or the visible automatic pre-movement before the point screen. However, there's still time to manually path once you load into the lobby. This is done by clicking to move as soon as you see the lobby in the first tick after loading in. Here's an example. Clicking on the minimap or the ground both work, and there are advantages and disadvantages to each. Minimap manual pre-move has the advantage of automatically dodging table spawns, so you'll never get caught north of a table using the minimap, whereas you would if you simply click southeast of your character on the ground. Minimap pre-move also doesn't get broken by dead click zones off the edge of the lobby area. There are a few disadvantages of minimap pre-move. One is that it's less precise. You usually click somewhere far away from your character. This sets you up for a few cases of poor pathing if you spawn in certain locations. Here's an example of moving straight east by using the minimap, because your character is trying to get southeast of the ladder, but has to path east first until it can move diagonally to the tile northeast of the ladder. In addition to this, it's fairly common for minimap pre-move to result in walking 1 tile instead of running 2 tiles. This happens if you spawn near a wall and click slightly more south or east than exactly southeast. Your character will attempt to move 2 tiles in one direction, but only 1 in the other direction. Since you're against a wall, you will walk 1 tile along the wall. Ground manual pre-movement avoids most situations that cause you to not path 2 tiles southeast from minimap pre-movement. In practice, you should try to hover your cursor over the tile exactly 2 tiles southeast of your character and click when you load into the lobby. However, this does not avoid getting stuck north of the table on east lobbies. Also, the area outside of lobby rooms all cause dead clicks, meaning that if you click there, nothing happens. This comes into play east of waves 4 and 8 and south of waves 9 and 10 lobbies as seen here. Here's an example of ground manual pre-movement. In general, manual pre-movement without a destination movement is worse than automatic pre-movement with the destination tile, since you lose the free and visible southeast movement tick, and you might not move directly southeast. Note that you can still manually pre-move while having the destination movement, but there isn't much reason to do so aside from dodging tables. Here's an example of a minimap table dodge after destination movement. If I did nothing after loading into the wave, I would have been stuck north of the table. There's one other situation in which manual pre-movement can result in walking, which is known as a soft click. This happens when you click at the very end of the last tick of the wave and don't click again after loading into the lobby. Your click will be on a location in the wave, but that click won't register until after you leave the wave due to ping. For some reason, this causes your character to walk toward where you clicked instead of run. This is why people normally spam click as they load into the lobby for manual pre-movement. Here's an example of a soft click walk. Flowering is sort of an extension of manual pre-movement, except instead of manually pathing by clicking the ground or minimap, you click mithril seeds to plant flowers. When you plant flowers, your character walks one tile west to pick the flowers. This is useful because if you remember this picture, there's a decent chance you end up in a spot directly east of being able to go down a ladder with destination movement. Flowers can be clicked on either the first or second tick after loading into the lobby. If clicked on the first tick, there is no visible movement before the flowers, and you'll move west from the location that you first see your character in the lobby. Here's what this looks like. If you flower on the second possible tick, there is visible movement, and you'll plant flowers after the automatic or manual movement, but before the point screen. That looks like this. In both cases, the point screen is delayed by one tick, as seen in the clip where I tried to 4-tick quick start on a first tick flower. This means that there's no reason to flower on the first tick, since the only two tiles you can first tick flower on are also tiles that you would pre-move to a tile that you can second tick flower. Proper flower quick start is 5 ticks, which is 1 tick faster than cases where you have to move 1 tick to the ladder. When done correctly, flowering is a form of insta-quick start and will delay the call change when the wave starts. Flowering is most common for people with poor reaction time or high ping. It's best to flower in combination with destination quick start with automatic pre-movement while hovering over the mithril seeds in your inventory in case you spawn on a tile that will get automatic pre-movement to northeast or southeast of the ladder. One downside to committing to flowering is that you can't avoid tables. Keep in mind that since flowering will delay the point screen, you shouldn't flower unless it puts your character next to the ladder. Bad flowers happen when you flower somewhere that doesn't put you next to a ladder, which will usually result in at least a 7-tick quick start, like this. In this clip, I actually clicked the ladder a tick later than possible, resulting in an 8-tick quick start. One final note on flowering is that you can't plant flowers on top of existing flowers. This can occur if you reset rounds and return to that lobby quickly, or if there are multiple teams using flower quick start on the same world. Here's what a flower on a flower looks like. Note that I also clicked the ladder a tick late in this clip, resulting in a 7-tick quick start instead of 6 ticks. It's important to be ready for flowering on top of an existing flower if you've been resetting waves, since you'll be able to click the ladder sooner than if you had planted flowers. Trou quick start, named after the player who made the method popular, is the most advanced and fastest form of quick starting. This method requires good reaction timing, good loading times, accurate and precise clicks, and minimal hardware latency. It is performed by clicking on or next to the ladder on the tick that you load into lobby, manually moving your character into a position to insta. This can also be combined with the invisible destination movement. Here's an example of Trou quick start. Taking a look at this picture, we have the west lobby spawn locations with destination movement from before on the right, and then the same tiles on the left but colored green if they're within Trou insta range, and red if they're not. Adding all the green tiles gives you about a 77% chance to have a 4-tick quick start if using good Trou with destination pre-movement. For comparison, in yellow are the chances of an automatic pre-move second tick flower and automatic pre-move insta. And here's a quick look at the same information for East lobby layouts. Notice that the high distribution north of the table gives you a much lower chance of being within insta range on East lobbies. And if you also have bad Trou adjustment to dodge the table, then you'll end up with a 7-tick quick start. For this reason, some people choose to commit to minimap manual pre-move on East lobbies and perform a 5-tick flower if they're not confident in their ability to adjust their Trou to table dodge. Bad Trou quick start results in at least a 2-tick time loss compared to good Trou. The next thing I'd like to talk about is burning the quick start. This is usually an intentional method to avoid an instant wave start in cases where the defender and healer don't want the calls delayed in the wave. This is usually done by moving to another side of the ladder and clicking quick start while moving there. It can also be done by a modified Trou to manually pre-move 1 tick from the ladder instead of right next to it. Note that simply waiting a tick next to the ladder before quick starting does not remove the instant effect of delaying calls in the wave. You need to be moving the tick before interacting with the ladder to avoid the late calls. Here's an example of a standard quick start burn on wave 5. Wave 5 is the most common wave to burn quick start, but it's always good to check with your team if they want any specific burn waves. Sometimes you'll end up with situations like this, where you could have had a 4-tick insta, but instead just end up with an embarrassing 6-tick insta. There are RuneLite settings to make quick start the left click option on the ladder. In most cases this is fine, however there is one situation in which this can end in disaster. If you spawn next to a ladder without destination movement and quick start on the first tick, you'll end up with a 1-tick quick start that breaks the interface in the next wave, like this. I generally recommend not using left click quick start for any player attempting to Trou quick start, so you don't have to reset the wave. Keep in mind that this only happens if you don't have destination movement and you spawn next to the ladder. If you do have destination movement, it will not result in a 1-tick quick start and will not break the interfaces. This can be seen here. I know that was a lot, so now I'll summarize the important parts. Always try to be moving at the end of a wave to gain extra southeast movement and get automatic pre-movement before the point screen. You can click on the last tick of a wave to achieve this, but it will not work if the wave ends on an animation stall that does not preserve movement, like a cape. There is 1 tick before the point screen when you can provide input. Use this to manually pre-move, dodge tables, plant flowers, or Trou. Flowers can be used to move you west next to the ladder before the point screen on either the first tick before visible movement or second tick during visible movement after loading into the lobby. Flowering is at best 5 ticks. Trou quick start is when you manually path next to the ladder before the point screen and is at best 4 ticks. Finally, here are some more examples of quick starting in actual rounds.